Right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ted Kroll. I'm going to be your moderator for this session, Tools and Resources for Improving GED. Just want to go over a couple reminders with you. First, welcome everyone again to the McKay Virtual Fall Conference 2021, Renewing, Recharging, and Rebuilding. I hope you're having a wonderful conference. It is a virtual format. We are still working together to network and collaborate. Just want to give you a few housekeeping reminders as you come in. First, a reminder to visit the McKay website for important updates and information, and check out our monthly membership as well. Don't forget to join us tonight, Thursday night, for trivia. If you don't have a team, no worries. We got you. We'll find somebody for you. The recordings from today and all presentations are going to be made available to you. And we're excited for this session today. Also, don't forget to check your email for the link to the sketch validation form if you need sketches. Remember to complete this entire form at the end of the conference and submit it by Monday, November 8th. We also encourage you to be on camera. This is a community of learning, and we ask you to put questions into the chat. We are going to save the questions to the end. Our host, Melissa, has it timed out very well to have about 10 minutes at the end to answer some questions, or she'll give you some ways to contact her if your question doesn't get answered. So at this point, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Melissa Haltstrand, who's going to be covering improving the tools and resources for improving GED. So Melissa, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it, and welcome to my session. I know that there's a lot of great options to choose from. I appreciate you attending mine here this morning. And as promised, during this session, I'm going to be covering a lot of different updates, and you can see the agenda here on your screen. First, I'll cover the what's new and update section, then talk briefly about the score report changes that we've made in the last year. I'll spend a little bit of time on Ged Ready Direct, and then we'll get into vouchers. I'll give you some updates on the OP test. There is a Did You Know section, and I will point out some excellent resources, tools and resources in our Educator Portal, and then get to our GED Flash and our GED Play products. So again, thank you for joining this morning. As Ted indicated, I will take questions at the end, just so that we could get through all of this material. So what's new and updates? Well, I think the first thing that we wanted to let you know about is that Drew Barrymore, who has her own talk show, has decided to get her GED alongside with 3 of her viewers. And so in September, she mentioned this on her show. She introduced the 3 viewers that are going to be working on their GED. They had another segment about a week and a half ago, and Drew's show will continue to follow her progress as well as the 3 viewers over the next few months. And as promised, I wanted to take you through the score report changes. Now, a lot of the educators in attendance today will realize that we've made changes to the score report. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time speaking to those changes and to let you know that we're actually going to be making more changes in the next 1.5 to 2 years. So we had a team of GED employees, mainly those that were on the tech and dev teams, work with educators across the country and work with students across the country to get their feedback on the score report. And some of the key findings was that they thought that it was hard to navigate through the list of different prep products, that it wasn't clear which of those study materials were online materials or actually books, that the skills listed in the personal study plan didn't make sense to the user when a study tool is not connected. And students didn't realize that the skills listed were specific to them. They didn't think that that was clear. And they wanted to be able to study in an organized approach. They wanted to get some sort of feedback on the essay that they wrote on the GED Ready test. So like I said, we had some GED employees meet with these educators and students. They brainstormed solutions, they developed prototypes, they tested them, showed them to the students and educators, got their feedback, revised those prototypes, showed it to those educators and students again, and then decided to pilot some of those changes. And then based on the performance of those changes, they went ahead and changed the score report across the board for all students to see. So here's what some of those changes look like. Like the educators and students indicated to us, they wanted it to be easier to locate the prep materials, to select them. So now the online study materials are shown inside a computer screen at the top, and then below that you will see the book, and you know that it's a book that you're looking at because you can see the graphic of the cover. And the other thing that was suggested by educators and students is that it would be helpful for there to be a way for the students to check mark when they have finished working on a particular skill. So now you see the boxes to the left of the skill, and just simply by clicking in that box, the check mark will show up. And in the upper right-hand corner, to the right of your skills to improve checklist, it shows how many skills that the student should be working on to improve based on the performance on their score report. When it comes to ER resources, the essay that the students write on the RLA Ged Ready test will populate here where it says your written response. Always below that, students and educators would have access to answer guidelines for the written response and an example of a perfect score. Below that, there are video lessons that students can access. We have our GED student, Alice, who speaks in all 8 of these lessons, and the lessons are short. They're not lengthy by any means. They're on average 3.5 minutes. And what's great about these videos, it's great for the students to look at, by themselves. It's great for the teacher to look at with the student, and each video focuses on different parts of the RLA test. So there's one video that focuses on how to write a great introduction. There's another one that focuses on how to choose a side, another one on how to defend that side, even if you don't necessarily believe in the side that you've chosen to write on. Down below, we've made it very easy for the students to just click a button that will give them the ability to share this score report with their teacher. So the prep center that they're associated with, give them the ability to print the score report, and also give them the ability to find nearby prep centers if they're not already working with one. The printable version of the score report now has a note section, and that's mainly because educators told us that they thought that that would be helpful for them when working with the students. So that's why that appears right now. And like I indicated, there will be more changes to the score report. Our team is working with the educators and a brand new set of students to enhance the score report even more. And I wanted to let you know that when it comes to Ged Manager, which I know a lot of you have access to, we've made some updates to Ged Manager in the last year. And the main one is that this search button now shows up in certain parts of Ged Manager. So like in the student test activity report, prior to this update, as soon as you entered any type of information in any of the search fields, if there was a match to any student's record, it would populate right away. But now after entering the information in the search fields, you need to click on the search button. And this is to speed up the search. Now the search button is not available in all parts of Ged Manager yet, but in the next year, it will be there. So just a reminder that when you're going into Ged Manager, and if you've entered some information and you're wondering, well, why aren't the results populating? Just look for that search button and click on it, and you will see results populating in about 10 seconds. And along the lines of Ged Manager, I just wanted to speak about Ged Ready Direct. I'm not sure if all of you in attendance are aware of it, but this is actually something that we piloted towards the end of last year, and we launched at the beginning of this year in February. So we know that GD Ready practice test voucher code spreadsheets are an administrative challenge. They can be a headache trying to keep track of hundreds of thousands of different voucher codes. And then on top of that, tracking which vouchers you've assigned to students, which ones you haven't, trying to keep track of expiration dates. So everybody seems to be spending just too much time dealing with the voucher codes. So the solution was Ged Ready Direct, and we're in phase 1 of this. Like I said, we introduced it at the beginning of this year in February, and it's a new feature in Ged Manager, allowing educators to purchase Ged Ready tests and assign them directly to students inside their Ged Manager account. So the benefits are that students can access Ged Ready tests directly from their GED account once they're assigned. You don't have to worry about spreadsheets or voucher codes to manage, and there's no expiration dates to extend. So when you log into Ged Manager, if you have access to this, you will see in the right-hand side of the home screen, it will say your Ged Readies, and you'll see an unassigned, assigned, and used category. And so this gives you the ability to buy Ged Readies, manage Ged Readies, or share them with your colleagues at your prep center. So let's look at this a little bit more closely here. Let's say that you have access to this and you purchased 10 Ged Ready vouchers. As you can see, it's showing that you purchased them, 10 of them are not assigned, and to assign them, all you need to do is click on the Assign Ged Readies button. Once you do that, you could enter your student's GED ID number. You could enter the first few letters of their first name or their last name so that the system will populate their account. And then you would just click on their name, which shows up in blue, and then you've assigned the GED Ready to this particular student. So now you can see that whereas before it said that there were 10 unassigned GED Readies, now it's showing that there are 9 that are unassigned and that 1 has been assigned. So very easy to use. Within a few clicks, you can easily purchase and assign and share. So in terms of next steps, if you wanted to find out more information about Ged Ready Direct, by all means, please reach out to me. You can see my email address here on the screen. You will also see it later on in the presentation. And know that there are FAQs available on this. Inside Ged Manager, when you log in on the right-hand side, there are different documents that are listed, and one of them is the FAQ for Ged Ready Direct. And the other thing to keep in mind is that purchasing these Ged Ready vouchers through Ged Manager right now must be done with a credit card, but we're trying to get additional payment methods available, and our hope is that additional payment methods will be available at the beginning of 2022. Along the line of vouchers, I just wanted to spend a little bit more time speaking about GED Test vouchers and GED Ready vouchers. It's important to understand that when it comes to the GED Test vouchers, that if programs want to purchase them to pay for the GED test or for retest fees, you could purchase that via the Pearson VUE Voucher Store or GED Marketplace. And that it's really important to keep in mind that these GED test vouchers expire 1 year from purchase, but we can easily extend the expiration dates of unused vouchers or replace expired unused vouchers. But extending the expiration dates is much preferred and faster for our teams to complete. So when it comes to GED test vouchers, you can purchase them 2 ways. You could go to GED Marketplace, which will allow you to purchase them using a credit card. Here's the link to take you to GED Marketplace. Or you could go to the Pearson VUE Voucher Store, which will allow you to purchase test vouchers via credit card, PO or check, or credit terms. Now, when it comes to purchasing GED Ready vouchers, the best pricing for GED Ready bulk purchases by adult ed programs is via our publishing partners. And so the link to take you to our publishing partners is right here. It's really important to understand that when it comes to the GED Ready vouchers, If you're purchasing them from a publisher, they expire 18 months from purchase. But again, just like the GED test vouchers, we can always extend those expiration dates for unused vouchers or issue replacement vouchers. So really what we'd like you guys to do is take a look at the vouchers that you have. Take a look at the unused vouchers. Do you have any that are recently expired or are about to expire? If that's the case, please send me an email, state that you would like assistance getting vouchers extended and or renewed, and please attach a list of the vouchers to the email. So really the takeaway when it comes to vouchers is to understand that it's easier to extend vouchers that have not expired yet than to replace them, and that you can still use vouchers even after you sent me an email asking for an extension request. And understand that it is more difficult, it takes more time to renew a voucher that has already expired because brand new ones need to be created than to extend one. Okay, so we spent some time on vouchers. I do want to spend some time talking about the OP test. And just to give you a brief history on our online Proctored GED test, we introduced it last June of 2020. And basically because of the pandemic, so many computer-based test centers had to close down, or if they remained open, they weren't allowed to remain open for a significant amount of time, which made it difficult for GED testers to take their tests. Since the online Proctored test launch in June of 2020, approximately 40,000 students across the US have passed the GED test via this method. Here are some basics of this. I won't spend too much time on the basics, but test takers can take the GED test from the comfort of their own home or another location which meets the criteria. It's delivered online and it's continually monitored by artificial intelligence. And also there's a live proctor viewing the student throughout the entire testing session. Who is administering the test? GED Testing Service is contracting with Pearson VUE to deliver these online proctored exams. And it's really important to note that we are not moving away from traditional in-person testing center models. This is an option for the students who want to use it, but we're not moving away from CPT test centers. Here's how it works for those students that want to take an online proctored test. Students need to register via their GED account. So they would log in, and they have to keep in mind that there's different requirements. They need to use a laptop or a desktop computer with a webcam, with a microphone, with a stable internet connection. They cannot use a Chromebook. They need to be in an enclosed room with a door so that can be shut. Nobody can enter the room while they're testing. There cannot be any noise or anything like that. They can't have any food at their table, at their desk. And in terms of drinks, they could have a clear glass of water, but that's it. And students are asked to complete a system check to make sure that everything is running the way it should before they start their test session. But we suggest that before students even schedule an OP test, that they run the system check from the computer that they plan to use before they go ahead and schedule a test appointment. And I mentioned that students who want to take the OP test need to log into their GED account to schedule. Once they click on the schedule button, this is what their account looks like. It shows them the two options, online and in person at a test center. So if they want online, they just click on this blue button here. If they want in person at a test center, they would just click the blue button down below. Some key information about the online proctored test is that students have to score 145 or higher on the GED Ready test within the past 60 days in any subject area they wish to take via OP. And this is only required before the first OP attempt in a subject area. This is available to students who are 16 years or older. It's available in English and in Spanish. And it's important to note that since we launched in June of 2020, we were able to perform many different updates. And one of them is that now Almost all test accommodations that were available to students who test in person are also available to students testing via OP. And this is as of the last 6 months. Online proctor testing benefits is that it gives students the ability, appointments are available 24/7. It seems that what students particularly like is that they can test really early in the morning, they can test really late at night, so before their kids wake up, after they get home from work, after 10 o'clock at night, after they've taken care of putting the kids to bed, and it's super quiet, so they could go ahead and take that test. There's a lot of availability on the weekends as well as during the week. Test takers can cancel or reschedule their appointment all the way up to their scheduled appointment time, which is a huge benefit. Whereas for CBT testing, it needs to be done at least a day prior. And they can test from the comfort of their own home, which a lot of testers have told us they feel more comfortable, less anxious taking the test at home than going into a test center, or maybe the closest test center is far away and it would be difficult to go to work and then get to the test center at a particular time. There's mix and match scores from in-person tests and OP tests. So if somebody has started taking their GED tests on CBT, it doesn't mean that they have to take the rest of their tests at a computer-based test center. They could take some of their tests online, the rest at a computer-based test center. And like I indicated, we sent a survey to all students who took the OP test, and the overwhelming response was that the two main reasons they liked it was for convenience and because they felt less stressed going into the test. Now, it's important that if any of your students are going to take the test on OP, that they pay attention to the tutorials, that they read the information about this type of test. We encourage students, and these tutorials and information is available in their accounts, but it's also available on our GED website for educators who want to take a look and see all the information that's available on it. The whiteboard, they should get themselves familiar using the whiteboard. Here's the link to take you to that whiteboard and for them to try it out. They should also be taking a look at the virtual calculator tutorial. It's the same calculator that's built into the Ged Ready. And I mentioned that there is a lot of information about online testing on our website. If you go to ged.com, you will see about the test near the top of your screen. Once you click on that, you will then see the online testing option. So when you click on that, you will see an incredible amount of information on this type of testing. Here is a to-do list to ensure test success when it comes to OP testing. The students should be watching the OP videos. They should be viewing the computer tutorial and repeating that as needed so that they feel comfortable with it going into the test. They should learn the basic tools of the test, how to use the highlighter, how to change the font, how to change the color, how to change text size. And they should view that calculator tutorial as many times as needed. They should learn how to use the calculator keys for the required operations. They should know where to find and how to use the test resources, like the formula page, the symbol tool, calculator reference. And we really do encourage students to learn how to use the on-screen whiteboard, which is best for math equations, and the on-screen Scratchpad, which is best for RLA notes. So there's just a little checklist of what we suggest they take a look at before they go ahead and take the OP test. Here's what some of the tutorials look like. And just so you know, the tutorials aren't lengthy by any means. This is the tutorial on what to expect when taking the online test. Here's the one that will, for the test calculator tutorial. And when you click on this link here, it would take you to the whiteboard tutorial. This is the computer tutorial that's here. The link is at the bottom of the screen. And if you wanted to take a look at what the calculator tutorial looks like, what you could do is go to the Educator Portal of the GED website. And when you go to free classroom materials, it will show up on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. And here we have an example of what the calculator tutorial looks like. Again, the link is at the bottom of the screen. And here's the link to the whiteboard. So students and educators can practice with the whiteboard. It's very easy to use, but you don't want the students struggling with this if they haven't used it prior to taking the actual test. You don't want them to waste time trying to figure this out or not using it because they didn't try it previously to taking the test. So for example, this circle with the X on it is what you would click on to close the whiteboard. If you want to use the pen, then you would just click on the pen that you see on the left-hand side there. And then to the right of that is the eraser. If they wanted to undo or redo anything, then they would go to the arrows down here at the bottom, just above the words clear. And the Scratchpad is provided in addition to the whiteboard. It doesn't have the pen functionality of the whiteboard though, but it can be opened and closed as a pop-up while the student is taking the test, and students can use this to take notes from the reading passages. When it comes to troubleshooting issues for the OP test, students, like I suggested earlier, should do the system check from their GED account and the computer that they plan to use. And they should try to do that before scheduling their test. If anything isn't fully green, they need to fix their system before test day. When they're taking the test, they should have their laptop plugged in. They should have everyone else in the house off the internet and inform them that they should not be entering the room when they're testing. They shouldn't be making a lot of noise. And if the student can't see themselves in the webcam window, they're not going to be able to test. They need to be able to see themselves in the webcam window, because when they can do that, that means that the proctor can see them. And if the proctor can't see them, the proctor won't start the test, or they will stop the test if they were able to see them previously and then all of a sudden can't. Let's see here, sorry. Proctor Communications. So this is important because we've enhanced this since we launched in June of 2020. So the student can text the proctor through live chat at any time if they're having trouble. So that's important for students to understand. The proctor can also text the student through live chat to warn them of breaking a rule. Students will also get a warning before their test is ended due to breaking a rule. And if live chat isn't working, the proctor may talk to the student through the computer, or they might call them, because before the test starts, the student needs to enter a cell phone number that they could be reached at if there are any issues and the proctor wants to reach out to them. Okay, and I think the other thing that I wanted to mention about OP before we continue is that we have put together several sessions on OP for educators in the last year and a half. If you've missed any of those, you can access them on our website through the Educator Portal. They're extremely beneficial. If you haven't viewed them, I think it really is worthwhile, especially if you have students that are using this testing option. So let's move on to Did You Know? So I think most educators are aware of this, but not all have signed up for the mock demo GED.com account. So if you haven't, I would encourage you to do it. You can see the link here at the top of your screen. It's helpful because this gives you an excellent idea as to what the students are seeing when they log into their GED account. We are updating the GED website and the GED and the student GED accounts constantly, trying to enhance the experience. And so the best way for you to be in the know is to create the mock, sign up for the mock demo account. When you go to this link, you will see this messaging in highlighted here in pink asking you, are you sure you want to go ahead and do this? You should say yes and just continue, and it will get you in there. And like I said, it's the best way to see what the students are seeing when they log in and the different tools and resources that are beneath or within each of the major categories in their account. Also, in terms of updates, I wanted to let you know that we did update our FAQs. We've always had FAQs available on our website at the bottom of GED.com, but we've added more FAQ documents, more categories, more FAQ categories, and more questions to some of the previous categories. And so when you get to this section, this is what it's going to look like. You see the different categories here. And to the right, once you click on any of the categories, you're going to see the questions available within them. So to get the answer to the question, all you need to do is click on the question or on the plus sign that is to the right-hand side of the screen. And the other thing I wanted to keep in mind is that these FAQs aren't just helpful for students, they're helpful for educators, especially those that are new to preparing students for the GED. And they're really helpful to the family and friends who are trying to support the students through their GED journey. Also wanted to let you know that we have printable flyers that you can use to promote your program. You can see the link here at the top of the screen. So you can now download flyers to print, distribute on your own. These PDF files are available in English and Spanish, and they are customizable. So let me show you what I mean. So here's one of the options, one of the flyers that you could choose from. And then down at the bottom is where you would enter your prep center's name, your prep center's address, website, contact hours. Don't just enter your prep center's name and a phone number. Be sure to enter hours because that's key for students. And then, you know, because of the pandemic, some of the prep centers aren't opened, and you want to make sure that whatever phone number you list there, if any student calls it, you want to make sure that whoever answers that phone number would be able to do a great job of answering questions about your prep center. So just be mindful of that. So if you're not using, if the number that's on your website is not, nobody's available to answer that phone right now because your prep center is closed, then maybe the number that you add at the bottom is for a colleague of yours who would be able to answer those questions that come in from potential students. To go ahead and order these flyers or any of the other professionally printed GED posters, brochures that we offer to educators, all you need to do is go to this link and sign up for an account in the GED Print Hub. And then once you're in there, you'll be able to see all the different things that you could order for your prep center. And just know that most of those are free. Like for the flyers, you're not paying a fee for that. For the posters on the calculator, you're not paying a fee for it. And if the ones where there is a fee, it is clearly marked. So take a look. And then the other thing I wanted to let you know about, we've been running this for about a year now, just over a year, the GED Graduate of the Month. If there is a GED graduate that you can think of that has an extraordinary and exceptional story, they could go ahead and nominate themselves, or you can go and nominate them by going to this link here. Every month we select one winner, and that winner receives an iPad, and they're featured on our social media channels. And they also get some money towards post-secondary education program. Hand scoring of the Spanish RLA test. So from time to time I get asked, well, I noticed that the Spanish RLA tests take longer, their test scores take longer to post than the English RLA test scores. Do you know why that is? Are you aware of that? Yes, we are aware of that. And that's because all of the Spanish RLA tests are hand scored. That means that every single response is scored by at least 6 expert scorers, sometimes as many as 9 if there's any scoring disagreements. But even though this takes time, generally the scores are posted within 48 hours in the student's account. So just something to keep in mind if you've noticed that before, that's why. And I always get asked about name changes. How should I go about getting name changes? I think it's important to understand that since 2018, GED Testing Service changed their policy where they no longer support name changes due to marriage or divorce for testers who've already credentialed. But we do continue to support name changes under the following circumstances with formal documentation. And the key here is that we need formal documentation for these requests. So required court orders such as witness protection, gender changes, those that we're testing under an alias. And obviously, if the student name or date of birth is incorrect because of a typo, we want to assist and make that right. But just keep in mind that we won't make the name change to credentialed accounts due to marriage or divorce. And how should you go about, or how should students go about getting the name change done? They need to send an email to help@ged.com to get the name or the date of birth updated. Even if the tester has credentialed, this is the route that they should take. And in that email, they should, like I said, attach the formal documentation. They should also clearly state the student's GED ID number, the way that their name and date of birth currently shows up in their account, and they need to specifically state what it is that should be changed. Don't leave it up to the representative to figure out, to take a look at the attached formal documentation and try and figure out what needs to be changed. Specifically state that, and know that this is something that, you know, can't be done day of. This usually takes up to 5 business days. Sometimes it takes more, because when these requests come in, there's a team that checks to make sure that there's formal documentation attached. If there isn't, we'll reach out to the requester to let them know that we need formal documentation, and then we will forward it to the state for them to take a look and let us know whether or not they want us to go ahead and make the change. So it does take some time. What I have here is a Huda contact sheet for test administrators. Now, I know that we don't have a lot of test administrators in attendance in this session, but this document is extremely helpful for test administrators. Educators, students should not be calling the numbers on this slide or the next slide that you're going to see. And just know that this document is available on the GED website, but also in VSS to test administrators at any time. And what's great about it is because from time to time, test administrators experience issues, run into issues that they've never experienced before. And they have no idea who to contact to get help with it, to get assistance with it. Or maybe they did run into this issue before, but it was a long time ago and they can't remember who it was that helped them out. So this sheet is great for them. So for example, if a test administrator was needed some assistance with registration manager, they had non-technical questions regarding checking candidates in or determining whether or not a candidate should be turned away, then they should call the number at the top of the screen and select option 1 for customer service. If they have questions about test center certification or recertification, questions about site manager or admissions manager, or where to locate client reference materials, then they should choose option 2, because that would get them through to our channel quality team. The key is calling the correct number, making the correct selection, because if they don't make the correct selection, they're going to get somebody who doesn't know how to help them. And then the third option that's listed here is for tech-related questions. So maybe they have questions about Service Direct, or they're locked out of one of the many Pearson VUE accounts that they have access to. Maybe they need to obtain a challenge key or a new security certificate. If it falls within these categories, they should call this number, not the number on the previous slide. And this is what's going to get them through to the tech support team. I also wanted to let you know about font and color contrast adjustment. I think there's a misunderstanding that this is only available for students with approved accommodations, but that is not the case. All GED testers have the option to adjust font and color at any time during the test, as many times as they want. It could even be done 5 minutes before they finish the test. But again, it's available to all students, not just those with approved accommodations. Here you see some options for font and color contrast, but there's actually more that are listed right now for the students. And if the students or you, the educators, are not sure how to go about making those changes, making a change to the screen color combination, or changing a text or highlighting, if you go to this link, you can see those step-by-step instructions. You can even download the instructions as well. So now I want to take you through to our Educator Portal, because our Educator Portal has a wide variety of free tools and resources for educators. It's easy to access. All you would need to do is go to ged.com, and in the top right-hand corner, click on Educators and Admins. Sorry. Once you do that, you're going to see different categories listed on the left-hand side of your screen. Within each of these categories are subcategories. So for example, if you clicked on Test Administration, you would see information about becoming a test center, managing your test center, administration policies, testing and corrections. The Test Center Support Line document I showed you for test administrators can be found here, and information about test accommodations. When you see the information on the left, the categories and the subcategories, you will see the corresponding tiles in the middle of the page. So you could get to it by clicking on the left-hand side of the page or on the corresponding tile in the middle of your page. The one category that educators like the most is teaching the GED test. Once you click on that, you will have access to free classroom materials, teaching resources, professional development information, information about our prep products, and information on promoting your program. Those flyers that I showed you a few slides ago, to access those, you would just click on Promote Your Program. Within this section of the portal, you have access to the Educator Handbook, which gives you an overview of the GED test content, the recommended teaching strategies. We updated the handbook last year. The link is at the bottom of the screen. This is especially helpful to new teachers to help them focus on the most important resources to get them up to speed on being a GED instructor. Also within this section are the free practice tests and the free study guides. The practice tests are about 1/4 of the length of the actual test. They're available in both languages for all 4 subjects. And the same is true for the study guides, available in both languages for all 4 subjects. If internet's an issue, there are downloadable resources as well. You can download the computer tutorial. You can access the practice tests this way by clicking on the following links. And I mentioned the study guides, the free study guides. What are the study guides? If you're not familiar with them, they include sample questions. It's just another resource for adult educators to use in preparing students for their GED tests. It's especially great for new teachers to get them familiar with the content that they need to teach. And this is an example of what the study guides look like, the format. So we're taking a look at the language arts one. So the top section is always like what you need to know about this particular subject. And then below that, you'll see the test overview section, which will list the topics that will be covered on the test. It will give you an idea about time, whether or not there's any breaks, and then it will tell you about the format of the test, what type of questions to expect, and then you'll see the sample questions. Also within our Educator Portal, you're going to see messaging about our in-session newsletter. If you haven't signed up for this, I would strongly encourage that you do so. It's free electronic newsletter that's sent on the 10th of each month. And this is the best way for you to get the most up-to-date information from GED. What's particularly helpful to educators is that in our in-session newsletters, we have interviews, but we also list information about our upcoming Tuesdays for Teachers session, which is part of a free professional development webinar series where we focus on different topics. And in the in-session newsletter, you're going to see the title for the upcoming Tuesdays for Teachers session, a brief description of what the presenter is going to talk about, and a link to click on to register for that session. And what you're also going to see is the link to the recording of the most recent Tuesdays for Teachers session. So for example, earlier this week, there was a Tuesdays for Teachers session that focused on math. And that's the first of a 2-part webinar series. And so in the next in-session, you were going to see the link that you could click on to get you to the recording of the session that we had on Tuesday. So like I said, the one on the 26th was on mathematical reasoning. The next one will be on November 16th. And on December 7th, we will have part 1 of our Reasoning Through Language Arts session, and then part 2 of that would be on January 25th. In February and March, we are going to focus specifically on social studies and science. But like I said, if you have signed up for the in-session, you are going to see information about the upcoming one, the date and time of the live event, if you want to join that. And you might be thinking, well, okay, well, is there one place I could go to get access to the recordings of the previous professional development Tuesdays for Teachers recordings? Yes. So within the professional development option, you're going to see a tile here titled Webinar Trainings. Click on the link within here, and this will take you to the previous webinars. So from most recent to the earliest ones. And as you can see, it gives you the ability to click and access the recording, but you're also able to access the resources that the presenters made available. You could download certificates for viewing this. And we cover a wide range of topics. Usually the topics that we cover are based on suggestions we get from educators. Let's see here. So the next, so going back to how to sign up for the in-session newsletter. It is advertised within our Educator Portal, but if you just scroll all the way down within the portal, you're going to see the sign up button here. So you click on that. The only thing we need from you is your email address. And again, it is free. And it's only an electronic newsletter. Sorry. Extended response videos. I mentioned that these are actually available within the score reports, and that there are 8 of them, and they average about 3.5 minutes in length. But these are also available within the Educator Portal. So you can view them at any time. You can pull them up and show them to your students. If you'd like all 8 of them for free on a DVD, just send an email here to this email address, and they will send you the DVD with all 8 on there. And now we're at our last section, which is GD Flash and GD Play. I have the wonderful Adrienne here on the line to talk to you about that. Adrienne's from Aztec. GD Flash and GD Play are 2 wonderful products that we've worked with Aztec on, and she's going to talk more about them. Adrienne?
Thank you so much, Melissa. Good morning, everybody. Wow, I have to say, those are amazing resources that GD Testing Services supplies to all educators. There's so many great opportunities, so please take advantage of that. And I'm glad that GED Testing Services listens to the field and wants to support. And in that effort, what they've done is, obviously, I'm sure many of you with your students have heard that they want more practice, right? Well, in surveying students, GED Testing Services reached out, and the #1 thing is practice. So what we've done is partnered with GED Testing Services because we wanted to answer that call using our dynamic platform, and in collaboration with GED Testing Services. What we've done is created GD Flash, which is essentially a digital flashcard to provide your students with more practice questions in effort to better be prepared for the test. GD Flash is accessible anywhere, anytime, and on any type of device. We have solutions available not only for internet-based students, but also for those students who are offline. We, in our efforts here, I know that GD Testing Services offers GD Flash to your individual students from their portal, but as for organizations like your own, that comes through Aztec software. So it's really exciting, and let me just dive in a little bit about what GD Flash looks like. You can purchase that through us. You have the ability to view actual time on task reports for your students. That's what the organizations will be able to have access to, administrative reports, being able to view your students' progress. There are over thousands of practice questions across all the 4 subject areas, and all of these questions have been reviewed and vetted by GD Testing Services and aligned to the actual blueprint. Melissa indicated some of those resources earlier in this presentation. So exactly as the blueprint lays out is the way that GD Flash is organized. For example, in math, it's always easiest for me to remember. In math, there's the 4 areas: basic math, graphs and functions, basic algebra, and basic geometry. And in each of these sections, the student will, you can assign the student access. You can assign GD Flash at any point during a student's journey to their operational test. So it could be after you finish a particular unit lesson in math, or it's right before they're going to take the operational test and they just want to build a little bit more confidence level. So what students get are 10 questions at a time. And upon answering those questions, they get immediate feedback, which again, as Aztec is a teaching organization, we want to continue to reinforce. And you can see here, there's an example on the screen of a question where the student did get the correct answer, but we still show how to derive that answer, especially in math, because that's important to reinforce learning, even while they are practicing. So there are step-by-step guides, whether they get the question correct or wrong. And because the bank is so large, students can sit and practice on for several sessions and probably won't see a repeat question for a long time. The questions have that many, yeah, I think we're good there. What GD Testing Services has found is that obviously practice makes perfect, right? With practice comes improvement on scores, and GD Testing Services did a pilot study specifically in math on the efficacy of using GD Flash to preparation. When doing that, we've noticed that most students miss scores by about 4 points, and 4 points can be such a tremendous opportunity between failing and passing, and it can just be that little bit. So the more that students spent time in GD Flash, the more likely that their scores would go up, as you can see what the chart shows here. So it's really exciting that the students who are using GD Flash are feeling more confident because the questions that they are encountering are exactly the same way that they appear on the operational test, those drag and drops, hotspots, etc. And then the more that they use it and feel comfortable using the computer to prepare, they'll feel more comfortable for the operational test. And as I mentioned, for administrators and instructors like yourself, you get detailed report and access to insights about how your student is doing. You'll see that we also give immediate feedback to students for them to track their progress. So each time they have an opportunity to sit for the 10 questions, they should see a progression in their scores. If not, you as an instructor can use that to troubleshoot and go back and say, let's review these sections. The way that we offer GD Flash, you do not have to have Aztec software to take advantage. So if you have another GD preparation tool that you're using, you can use GD Flash as a supplement. If you are using Aztec software, it is an additional purchase and can easily be accessible in your Aztec Learning Portal. And the way that we offer our licensing model is on a concurrent. So what that means is that you pay for the number of maximum licenses you need at one time. My best example of that is if you look at a boardroom and you see 10 chairs on a table. Well, you can have meetings in a boardroom all day long with 10 different people each time, but only 10 people can sit in those chairs. So it gives you a greater flexibility in your model to assist your students with access. In moving in that direction, we know that this is just a practice aid. Well, students that need a little bit more dynamic learning, we've also partnered with GD Testing Services and Kaplan to provide you with the ability to have GD Play. And what we've done is launch this instructional video program for, again, both the internet-based solutions as well as offline solutions for those that might be in the corrections or in more rural areas. And what you get with GD Play is the extensive content that specifically targets the GD test subjects as it relates to GD Flash, targeted lessons with top-rated instructors. These folks are amazing. It's almost as if you have a tutor directly one-on-one with you. And then the lessons are an easy, short bite size so that it doesn't overwhelm the student. All of these, both GD Flash and GD Play, are additional resources that you can use to augment what you're doing. Of course, Aztec software offers GED, our own GD prep that's much more comprehensive, but these are amazing tools. And you can contact Melissa to learn some more, or I'll also put some additional information in the chat for you. You can stop by and visit with your local rep, Matt Jones, and enter to join a GD raffle that we have. If you have any additional questions, I think I try to keep up with the questions as they came in the chat. Again, my name is Adrienne Fainer, and thank you, Melissa, for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. I appreciate it. And so I know I think we only have about 5 minutes, under 5 minutes left for the session. And I wanted to let you know that while there are so many links embedded in the different slides of this presentation, the one that I feel it would be most helpful to educators are the ones that are listed here on this screen. And happy to try and answer some questions now. I know I won't be able to get to all of them, but please know that you can reach out to me. You can send me an email, you can send me questions through the WOVA app, but you could send me an email here, and I'd be happy to answer your questions through email or on the phone. Just let me know what works best for you. Ted?
Melissa, I tracked some questions for you, kind of going
Perfect.
from beginning to end. First one was going back to the first part of your presentation about where it kind of shows what students have done through GED. They're wondering if students using a book and program can be linked to what you were talking about earlier with seeing what students have accomplished.
So on this, is that the score report that they're talking about then?
Yes.
Okay, so the educator would be able to see it one of two ways. So obviously, yes, you would want to make sure that the student has linked the book or the online program that they're using to the score report, because then that's going to link up everything and update the score report to only show the skills that they need to work on based on how they performed on the GD Ready test or the actual test. So the student could log into their GD account and show the educator their progress so far. But the other thing that they can do is in the score report at the very bottom, there is that print button. And so if they are doing, if they are consistently using that checklist on the left-hand side of the skills, then the educator would be able to see that as well. I think that's what the educator is asking. I'm not 100% sure. So if I didn't answer your question, please let me know.
She just put in there, but can they link both? We use a program and a book. I would unmute, but I don't have that ability.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Another question we had was, if they already have GED Ready vouchers, is there a way to add those to GED Ready Direct, or do they need to purchase directly from GED Ready Direct?
So that's an excellent question. So you can't, if you've already purchased vouchers, you cannot add them to the GED Ready Direct system. So you'd want to use all those vouchers first and then get into that GED Ready Direct system. So that way you're not going to be doing both. You're not going to be using the GED Ready Direct system and still trying to manage those spreadsheets. Use all the previous vouchers that you've purchased and then get into GED Ready Direct.
There's another question about if a student has multiple accounts, and I know someone answered it via phone, can they use the help at GED to combine those accounts, or does that have to be solved through phone or chat messaging?
So it can be done by phone. You could send an email to help@ged.com. The thing is, though, you want to make sure in the email that you don't just say, hey, help me out and like merge all my accounts, right? We need specific information, the GED ID numbers of those accounts, because sometimes students forget what they enter or they don't spell the name correctly. And so if we can get the GED ID number listed in that email, that is what is most helpful when it comes to merging. I guess an update that I would like to give is that in the next 6 months, we'll be able to eliminate a lot of the duplicate accounts with the help of the state office. Erica and Trisha were running queries to show the duplicate amount of duplicate accounts for Michigan right now. We're going to provide them with that information on a spreadsheet that shows like our logic, and then ask for their feedback in terms of eliminating the ones that haven't been used in like 5-6 years, that sort of thing. But if you do want something merged, if you do want accounts merged, you can definitely call the number. You could chat also, but again, make sure you have the student has the GED ID number, or send an email to help@ged.com. The other thing I forgot to mention about vouchers, if you have ones that are about to expire or already expired, like I said, send me an email, we will take care of it. But just know that we are getting so many requests from educators across the country that there is a 6 to 8 week backlog on that. So send me the request, but just know that it will take a while to get through all of the requests, but that you can use you could use the vouchers that are on the list in the meantime, if they haven't expired.
Thank you so much, Melissa. There was a lot of back and forth in the chat. A lot of people answered each other's question. I know that Samantha had even posted a discussion in the WOVA format that people can go in and kind of share answers and best practices and those type of things. So I know you shared your information, but I just wanted to thank you and for all the information, the audience, and I know you have given your information there. If anybody has other questions, reach out to you. So we hope everyone has a great rest of the conference day, and to mind to stay active and engaged, and let us know if you have any questions. So thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the educators for all that you do. Thank you, Adrienne. Thank you, Ted. Take care.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.